Welcome to another episode of Canadianish Comedians. I'm Laura Toogood.
And I'm Julie Betts.
Today we are joined by an up-and-coming Toronto area queer comedian, Mickey Dykeman. The human equivalent of a golden retriever, they deliver high-energy punch-up comedy and hail from Napanee,
Ontario. Do you remember that song?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
We were supposed to do that faster. We even practiced it, but
no.
Great. No, that's amazing.
Welcome, Mickey. Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
It's our pleasure.
Yes.
Do we have any connections to Napanoodle? Are we just fans of their work?
Yeah,
we love
I think
Napanee. It's a great
Hell
town.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Best giant tiger in Canada. So
I'm
and
jealous.
not the biggest, just I don't know.
Just
That's
the best.
probably my personal, very biased opinion.
And the other great thing is it's not quite Kingston.
No, it's not. It's not quite Kingston or Belleville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be
it's just
careful,
those
be
things.
careful. My father's from Belleville.
Okay. No, don't worry. No worries. Yeah.
Laura. So funny. So we're going to just talk to you, ask you a bunch of questions. So you came to Toronto for university.
I did.
What were you going to study? And how did this roundabout ending up doing stand-up come about?
Yeah. So my degree is a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Film.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. So I went to formerly Ryerson, now TMU. When
Mhm.
they were changing they were asked the student body for a poll for mascot suggestions, and I was like TMU, the emu, or nothing else. That's the obvious and only. But they didn't go with that. They went with something very stupid.
What did they go with? I'm curious because I haven't been
make
following
sense.
it.
It doesn't make sense. The bold. That's
Bold.
and it's a bird, and it's called the mascot's called exactly. It doesn't make
That
any
makes
sense.
no
It
sense.
doesn't.
I mean,
no.
the Tasmanian devil might have made more sense, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, the ram was great. I don't know. So it's an interesting, but I digress. So I went there for film school and that went all right. And I specialized in, I was like, what's lucrative? Screenplay writing. Let's specialize in, no, it's that oh my God. I specialized in screenplay writing, and it drifted into comedy. And then I had people tell me after graduating, you should try stand up.
Really?
I had a few
Great.
people say that I should give it a whirl. And I did, and it didn't go terribly. And I just, now I've been like a dog with a bone.
Yeah.
It's
I like
addictive.
it.
It's addictive,
It is.
isn't it?
It is. And I don't know. I still write it for film and television, and I'm in that world, but I don't know. I prefer the community and the energy and the creative space of comedy. People are like, you prefer the comedy and you like comedy people. I'm like, obviously you have to, pick and choose. Like anything. The assholes be everywhere. That's just, but I find film, it's a lot of suits, it's very uptight. And then comedy, it's just so, I don't know. And you can write and immediately get that in front of an audience.
Yes.
Which is with film and television, especially writing, especially in Canada, it's pitch. And then someone, buys your script, but you're not even guaranteed it's going to get made or not guaranteed it's going to get released. Right. So it's just a great, I love the feedback loop, the constant, so.
Do you find that your comedy is carrying over into your screenwriting?
Somewhat, yeah. They kind of blend into each other. A lot of the times when I write, it's very absurd, and I like to take, when I'm writing in a cinematic context, I like to take kind of wallflowers and goofballs and put them into extraordinary circumstances, like hyper realities. My thesis was a horror comedy, and we have a feature version that we're working on getting made. So just and I think my comedy, there's a lot of absurdity to it, and that definitely is a tonal similarity, I would say. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Are you're still writing continually?
Yeah, a lot. That's another thing that stand-up is great for, because writing, I do prefer the writing style, because that was the main adjustment, was it's a very technically different type of writing. So like the comedy element's the same, but the way you write it, and it's so fast paced and in small chunks. And the one prerequisite, I can't even say the word, for comedy is ADHD, right? So
I was just gonna say, perfect career for someone with ADHD.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the rapidness of it is
Yeah.
great. Whereas, any kind of screenplay, even a show, it's a long slog.
Mhm.
So I don't know. But I'm writing more than ever because of stand-up, because of that. But I'm still writing. I got a few things going on.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Has anyone asked you to write jokes for them?
Not yet, no.
Oh.
I would love to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
I think it would be fun. It would be an interesting challenge to be trying to make it, because you would want it to sound like their voice.
Mhm.
And I've never done that. I've always been very much like everyone's all, I don't know. It's but like in film school and art school, it's find your voice, find your voice, find your voice, find your voice. It's just repeated to you a lot. So I'm very in my own how I,
Mhm.
know. That being said, like I've done a lot of screenplay editing for other people's stuff. But that's I don't know. You have more to work with.
Yeah.
I guess. So it's a bit different. It's like suggestions
Mhm.
that they can take or leave. It's a random reference, but Stephen King wrote an essay and he was talking about writing is sifting, and then keeping what's left, the good stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that makes sense. But comedy is very much like that too, right?
absolutely.
Like you can write 100,000 jokes and just
and three of them are funny.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. I have a very queer. I mean, you mentioned like I'm sure the haircut is like they'll be so shocked to hear that I'm of the homosexual persuasion. So my writing very much comes through that vein. It would be fascinating to try and write from the perspective of a straight comic. That would be very interesting. That would be an interesting exercise. I don't know.
Absolutely. It would be almost as funny as it would be to get a straight comic.
That would be
to write,
fascinating.
some queer material would be very interesting, especially some of the men out there. It would be like,
well, they're already doing it.
They try, but
they love
funny.
It's this interesting obsession, especially with the trans thing, to make trans jokes. Like that's the big thing. To varying degrees of offensiveness, like some, like it's a spectrum of harmless to not harmless, but it is this interesting obsession. I have this whole thing, and I do a lot of hosting. I love hosting. And if it's an open mic and then, an open mic comic, he goes up and talks about like how it's always how they're not gay. They'll go up and for 5 minutes talk about how they're not gay. And I'm like, whenever you do that, I immediately assume you're gayer than I am.
Yes.
That's exactly what went through my head.
Like you're thinking about gay sex more than I am. And I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
There's that old saying that he who protesteth the loudest.
Yeah, she doth protest too much.
Yes.
Yes.
Or in simple terms, you smelt it, you dealt it.
Exactly.
Right.
So I do. I go up after these, like if you do, even if it's not homophobic, but especially if it's homophobic, I'm definitely going to go up and heavily. I'm not even going to insinuate. I'm just going to. It's a very strange, like reverse bull. Like I don't know.
Yeah. And how do they react? What do they say to you?
Get, they don't. They're easily they're delicate flowers, truly.
Of course they are.
Like all these comedy boys who have their rough edges. Like you don't have to get too far to just find a baby that wasn't held enough.
That's the perfect analogy.
Maybe that's not very nice, but it's just, it rattles me. I don't know. I'm a rambler, so I don't know if at any point you want to cut me off. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. We love it.
That's the Dykeman way. I come from a long line of preachers. We just love to yap. But also I don't remember what I was talking about.
We're just talking about the hetero men and them being fragile little flowers. That was my favorite part, I think, of this whole
and how they
conversation
ramble on about being straight.
They do. They always go up and they'll talk about how they're not gay. They're like, if I was gay, but they're not, whatever. And one night I got at an open mic that I was not anticipating. I had them all joking about being gay with each other somehow by the end of the night, and I was like, this feels like progress. This feels good.
That's awesome.
I try to leave every space gayer than I found it. I don't know. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. I have there it is. I have this whole, people are like, isn't it hard being trans in the comedy scene right now? I'm
Mhm.
like, here's the thing. I was bullied by rednecks. Like, there's nothing a city boy can say. No one,
Yeah.
no one from Scarborough that they can say that's gonna get under my skin, which might not even be a good thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
But, but it is a
you're
thing,
you earned your stripes, right? Like
you
you've been
know.
through it all. Then yeah.
So yeah, city people don't have it down to the craft that
Yes.
people in. So
Well, because
anyway,
small towns, that's all they have to do, right?
yeah, nothing
Mm.
but drugs and each other. It's
Yep.
just, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
So it must have been a transition going from like little hometown Napanee to like the big smoke.
yeah, that was a lot. I didn't like it.
Oh no.
I had a hard time.
Yet you stayed.
I did, and now I love Toronto, but I definitely had a major culture shock. And I thought, because like I'd been to Toronto a lot, because like Dad and I are Jays fans, and Napanee,
Yeah.
it's like a 2.5 hour drive, but that's not so crazy. Like you can,
Mhm.
do that occasionally. So I thought, like, oh, I know Toronto, but it's so much different to stay.
To live here? Mhm.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I knew I was sheltered, but you still can't. Like I was aware of that when I moved. But you still can't really mitigate how it's going to affect you, even
Mhm.
if you know it intellectually. Like it's still, and like, I mean, TMU, their residence is Yonge and Dundas.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're in the
yeah.
heart of it.
So it wasn't just like Napanee to Toronto, it was Napanee to
Yeah.
Toronto.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. Yeah, it took me a good 4 to 5 years to get
Oh,
used to it, I would say, if I'm being
wow.
honest.
Yep.
But now it's like so many good things have happened to me in Toronto, and I love the city now, and I
Oh,
I have positive associations.
That's fabulous.
So
awesome.
Yeah.
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 Welcome.
Yeah.
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 Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been
She says
almost 8 years now, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
that's a long time.
I know. I
That
know.
is. The
That's
fact that you
great.
look 12, like I don't know how
I
your parents
know.
let you go to university then.
Well, and
When you were 4.
if you think I look young now, because I'm 26,
It's insane.
this college and this day, I don't know what it is. I have this
Mm.
theory that I'm going to hit a certain age and it's all going to catch up to me, and I'm suddenly going to go like completely down the other way and just look really old for my age. But people
I
are
don't
like,
think so.
no, I
I
know,
don't
I
think
know.
so.
It's okay. I don't mind, because people are like,
Yep.
what is it like looking young for age? And I was like, I order from the kids menu and it's a lot cheper.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
has
You
its
get into
perks.
the movies for
You
cheap,
get away
right?
with more. You just,
Yes.
people expect less.
Yep.
And so when you have like the maturity level that you should at your age, people are like, wow, so
Yeah.
impressed. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you are very eloquent for your
Oh,
age.
well, thank you.
You're welcome.
One does one's best.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's great. That's great. You
Uh,
must get asked for ID everywhere.
yeah, I used to work
Everywhere.
at a dispensary for a minute. I'm doing comedy full time now, but
Oh, good for you.
Oh,
yeah, I don't know.
nice.
It's
People are like, "What's
amazing.
that like?" And I'm like, "I have nothing." I'm no one. You know what I
Right?
mean? I ramen every single day. But I was working at a dispensary before that, and people would get upset that I was IDing them, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I promise I'm old enough. But also I can, I am what stands between you and your cannabis.
Yeah,
So I would, yeah.
Wow,
that's
wow, wow.
great.
I do though. I do. I get less and less, but because when I was like, say 19, 20, people would think I was 14, like
Oh yeah.
genuinely think I was
Mhm.
14. And I've noticed it's now like 18, 19. And I'm like,
I know.
ooh,
Yeah.
I'm getting mistaked for an adult now. Very
Almost an
exciting.
adult. Yeah.
I know. Depends on who you talk to. Yeah, it's true.
That's great. Enjoy every minute of it, because the
Yes.
saddest day is the day that they stop asking you for ID.
My partner is younger than I am. My wife's younger than me, but people sometimes think they're in an inappropriate relationship, like they're too old for me. And it's like, no, I'm older. Yeah.
Oh
So
my.
it's
That's so
weird.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Silly.
How do they feel about that?
Oh, they hate it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they can't wait for me to get some wrinkles. They're like, this is weird. I don't know. I know yeah. I mean, and we started dating when we were really young too, so I don't know if that's
Yeah, yeah.
no.
So you mentioned that you produce shows and stuff. How long have you been doing that? Because really, it's only been a year you've been doing comedy, right?
Yeah, like
It's
stand up
amazing.
specifically. I've been like a hamster running around. I don't know. Producing not super long, because I got hired by Black Sheep Entertainment or comedy, I should say specifically. So I've been booking and hosting their shows. And so the Punchlines on Parliament show, I'm doing it in association with them, but that show we've only done 2 of it. And and then I was hosting an open mic. I'm doing a lot of hosting. I really like it a lot. And it makes sense because like the first kind of handful of comics to sort of mentor me do a lot of hosting. And that's their focus. So it's not, it's not too surprising that I started doing a lot of that myself, know.
So there's a difference between producing and hosting, right?
Yeah, there is. And like for Punchlines, I produce and host it. For Black Sheep Comedy, like I host all their shows. I was hosting the Neighborhood Mic with Danny Adham. That was a blast.
And where was that usually?
That was at O'Grady's, but
I love O'Grady's.
Upstairs. So the like a saloon kind of vibe. Yeah. Which was great for my cowboy hat.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what happened to the Neighborhood?
It just wasn't I'm like, how do I be diplomatic? The owner of the venue, of the establishment, and he owns a lot of businesses in the village. He's a big gay man of business, big gay businessman. He had unrealistic expectations for how much an open mic on a Wednesday at 7 p.m. should be expected to make. Like it was a pretty ludicrous number, to be honest. And I think that the producer of that show just got fed up and was like, I can't deal with that anymore, which I totally understand.
It's too bad because it's a comfortable, safe area. I know the Parliament one is as well, but no, like
even
right
more so
there, like it's right in the heart of the neighborhood,
and just it being in the village, just it being there, a lot of the, it's, I don't know, I never want to be mean, but the worst of the worst, just because of where it is, aren't gonna go. It already, you'd be amazed the material that straight white cis dudes will go, because there were a lot of dudes that went to the Neighborhood Mic. And the material they would do, honestly though, and what I would say is like their material didn't always land, but they know they could go to any open mic anywhere in the city and be like looking at people who will relate to their experience, and they're choosing to go to a mic where the audience is not. And I was like, that's kind of cool. That can only be good for your comedy.
But don't you think some of them are, sorry to interrupt, don't you think some of them are like whores anyways? They'll go to any open mic,
they need constant validation. And sometimes, often, I don't think they know they're doing that. Very often they bomb on jokes that you can tell are solid for them usually, and you see it in their eyes.
That look of fear.
Like, oh, you don't like that joke? It is good for them to see. I think I've watched a few comedy boys, like come kind of do their regular shtick the first time at the Neighborhood Mic, feel how it went, how experience the reaction, and then work on it and learn how to pander better to where are they like masters with queer audiences? Not necessarily, but did they get a little bit better and learn how to pander more to that room? So if they're in a queer space again, they'll know what not to do.
That's awesome.
So I was fine with it, and I don't know I was always like, I was very much a little boy growing up, little dude. So I don't know. I'm buddies. I'm easily befriended these guys.
Because you're not a threat.
They're like, I'm their little buddy. I don't know. I get something that happens to me all the time. I have a joke I'm going to start charging constantly. I have guys sliding into my DMs being like, is this homophobic, this joke? Do you think this is this joke? Should I do this joke? And I give them a peer review. And I let them know. So
but that's a compliment too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they know I'm not gonna like.
Are we gonna pass the Mickey meter?
Yeah. And the thing I tell them is like, my Mickey, like, it's not the best meter. I'm not necessarily the best person to ask.
I think that's a great idea. Start the Mickey meter.
I like that. Like, does it pass the?
Awesome.
Yeah. It's like the Richter scale, but whether or not you should put something on the internet.
Exactly.
or a Rorschach.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And I don't mind. And the one guy cracked me up. It was definitely transphobic, the joke he sent me, and I gently told him that. And then it was immediately like, it's dead to me. I killed it. I never did it. I never wrote it. It wasn't me that wrote it. Never do it again. Like it went really like being silly, like goofy for the. And I was like, listen, you're okay. I'm not gonna. I'm not the authority.
And then you used it.
I should. You know, my opening line is that I give off young peasant boy energy.
Yeah.
And the reason I started doing that is because every comedian, every like male comedian in particular, like they were making the joke that I look like a child. And that I like whatever young, like I was getting Peter Pan, I was getting 11 from Stranger Things, and it would get laughs. And I was like, well, that's not fair. That's just my laugh.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
All
know,
that shit, right?
This is funny. Like, no, okay, no, this is my thing now.
Yeah.
And now that I do the young peasant boy, they don't really do that joke anymore because they know I'm gonna go up and make that joke.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Put them in their place.
You know,
Right.
it's the thing. It's the rednecks versus the running through the six. It's just you're tough. I don't know.
Awesome.
I was gonna ask you just a quick question about the
Yeah.
neighborhood too. Does he own that name for that?
Like the
production?
neighborhood Mike.
Yeah.
Oh, like the producer of the show.
Yeah.
No, and I think it was fine with the idea of me taking it over, but I just also was like, I can't work with this guy. So we'll see what happens. But no, and if like I don't know, or started one near the neighborhood Mike and call it the neighborhood Mike adjacent or something, or the neighborhood adjacent Mike, or something silly. So I don't know. There are more mics that are
Coming up.
sort of that are safer places, like because I don't know, for a mic for me it's like it's not so much that content will be censored as much as certain content will be discouraged. And some people, I don't know, if I ran a mic and I made all the rules, some people like walk in and be like, sorry, no. Like I've seen your comedy, you're not getting on this, like this just isn't the mic for you. But we let people say some pretty crazy stuff at the neighborhood mic, but there just was a line. Also, I'm hosting, so I go up and make fun of you if I think you go too far.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Well,
and they know, you know,
keep them in line.
But there's a mic, I don't know which one it is, but I know you know which one it is because it was talked about recently.
Okay.
But where there's zero tolerance. Like if somebody goes up there and does the transphobic jokes, then they're like immediately escorted off the premises, right?
Right.
I like that. I like that a lot. Like
Get out
because
of here.
there's no need for it. Like
no, and there's mics for that. There's rooms for that where that will be.
What do they call them? Those
Acceptable.
dark rooms or
or like edgelord rooms.
Yeah.
Incel rooms, depending on how hard you want to go in on it.
Our favorite.
I had it's funny because whatever people say things, it doesn't get under my skin, except sometimes I have a lot of patience. I think it's growing up rural, like not growing up in the GTA. Like I think people are allowed to have learning curves. I think that if it's an exposure issue, not a bigot issue, like
sometimes.
So and you have to sort of play it by ear. But I don't pay it much mind. But when I'm on my period, suddenly I have absolutely no patience at all, and I've caught myself heckling.
Good for you.
Like horrible. There's just this one comic, and they make this joke where they're trying to talk how they look. I don't know, but they say I look like I have pronouns. I was like, you do. You have pronouns.
Yeah.
And I did that, and then I felt kind of bad. Like, oh, I'm being
don't. I think in this day and age, if people can't get over that, like, come on, it's not funny. Have the tolerance for people who may stumble over the pronouns.
There's a difference. I think my thing is more, it's like, I don't really care if you make a transphobic joke as long as it's funny.
Yeah.
And it can't be stupid. Don't be stupid. You have to at least have like a couple brain cells to rub together.
Yeah.
And then I'll listen to your joke. I don't know.
Well, there's so many other things that are funny.
Yeah.
And I hear, and you hear this I heard this a lot in film too, where particularly straight white cis men, but like men, they feel like no one wants their perspective. They don't have and they don't have anything to add. But no, because you maybe certain things about your demographic have been done to death, but you as an individual have a unique set of experiences that you can draw from that, regardless of whether or not you're fun. you could find something to talk about
True.
that's not someone else's experience. There are things in your own experience, no matter how straight white cis you are. I don't know.
I don't know. I've seen a few that I'm
You
like,
guys, and it's like, maybe you should just hang up the old.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
poor
don't know.
Julie. Poor Julie doesn't like doing stand-up.
Yeah,
Fair.
it was hard. It was,
Yeah.
and
It's
plus
rough.
Yeah. I may approach it again when I retire, so that I can be a little bit more open with my comedy because,
Well, if I get a mic going again, you're welcome. And
Thank you.
one critique, like positive criticism I got about my mic is like the energy in the room was very positive. And something I noticed about the Gayborhood mic is the comic. It was mostly a comic audience, but they were attentive and listening and responsive and
Nice.
and very like a really supportive crowd.
Oh, good.
So a good place to record.
A good place to record, and anywhere where you have my laugh is a good place to.
Yeah.
I've ruined a lot of footage. If I go to people's specials, I'm like, hey, I promise I'll laugh quietly. I'll control myself. I won't ruin your special footage.
Yeah, you have a great laugh. Who cares?
No, you hear me before you see me. I'm like a Cthulhian nightmare. It's. I've had this thing that's been happening to me recently where like I'll walk into a show or something that I'm just sneaking in to watch. And I'll go for the back and I'll laugh at something, and without turning around, a comic will go, "Mickey's here." I'm like, oh no,
it's very sweet.
it's a lot.
That's very sweet.
That's a lot. I don't blame you for having like not wanting to comment. Like I do understand it. I think I don't know. I was bullied by the best and brightest at Napanee, so I have this thick skin. Which again, I don't know. Like it's not necessarily good to have a thick skin. It's helpful.
Yeah.
Is it good that you have one? Not necessarily. Sometimes I'm like, things should bother me more than they do. Some things. But yeah. I don't know. I just want to be someone who can just like kick the door open.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, speaking of kicking the door open, you've been featured on a couple of shows, have you not?
For like what type of show?
Like for example, you were on Yuck Yucks once, right?
That was just their open mic. Shows I've been doing a lot.
So was that like what was I gonna say?
Like a showcase?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, but you did that early on in your career, right?
Yeah. I went. It was one of the first mics I did.
Okay. But still, it's an impressive stage.
Yeah, it's an intimidating. I grew up. This will come as the big surprise. But I did a lot of musical theater and theater in general growing up too. So I have that. I didn't do any acting or theater in university, but I did a lot in elementary school and high school. And in high school, I did some like higher bar community theater, still community theater, but but where you try real hard. And in grade 12, I went to a performing arts high school and stuff in Kingston.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So I think that muscle memory came back. I think that's part of why people sometimes think I've been doing it longer than I have been. I think it's having the professional writing training, and then that muscle memory coming back from being the gay kid in drama class.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What I think then where I was going with it is, what are you aspiring to with your
with comedy specifically? It's fun because it wasn't necessarily, it was something that had like dawned my mind, like crossed my mind before that I might like doing it, but then I did it and it's like I've been looking for something I could really sink my teeth into, and that I felt like I was a part of it, like I belonged in a way that I don't always feel that connection in film with the community. So if I just am so happy to be here. Like long term, I mean, I would love to be able to do some headlining. I love hosting though. Like I always would want to. I've considered the possibility of opening a club at some
good
point.
for you.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a tough gig to open a club.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. It's a terrible idea, but I want to do it for some reason.
Good for you. Well, when you open it, you call us and we'll be there.
Yeah, and so I just would like to continue to have comedy be my day job and get better and get funnier and and I would like to be able to create spaces for people.
Yeah.
There's just so much talent in Canada.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know if it's the cabin fever or what it is, but I don't know if it's the cold, but there's just, like so much creativity happening in the city. And so,
Very true.
yeah.
Now, have you had the unpleasantness of working a show that wasn't very welcoming to the queer community? Do you want to share any
Yes.
of those experiences?
Yeah,
or-
absolutely. I won't like dox any clubs or anything.
Yeah, no.
But I've done a couple spots at clubs where I knew going in that they have a reputation for being hit or miss. There's some clubs that I just won't do. That I like and then it's like, I don't know. I had one person try to get me to do a show at a certain club, and I was like, I'm not gonna do it. And they're like, oh, well, I know, like, you can't handle it, whatever. I'm like, no, I just don't need the work.
Yeah.
I'm getting spots on shows that I don't know, I respect the integrity of the producers, so I'm
That's awesome.
gonna do those. But I've done one where it's often comics. It's male comic. I hate to say male specifically, but it is. It's just the
That's the way it is.
it is what it is. Comics just saying things that are mean, and it's just unprofessional, because it's bullying. It's just not funny, and I don't give it. Like I said, like I don't care, but that is what it is. Like before I started getting booked, so I was an open mic comedian, brand new. I was out an open mic late into the night. And especially when I started out, I would sit in the front row, even after my spot. I would stay the whole time, and I'd sit for the whole thing. So I'm the front row, whatever, and said something to me that, what my reaction to it was, I just spread my legs really wide and stared him right in the eyes and was like, okay, keep saying what you're saying, but say it right into my soul. But I was thinking, and I don't know, and I still think it, if that had been someone else, that could have been the last time they did comedy.
Oh, absolutely.
For a lot of people, they would have been lined up, because it's just a mean thing to say. And I've told comics what they said, and they're like, yeah, there's no comedy there. There's no, there's nothing. Like, it was just I don't know. And like, maybe this sounds arrogant, but sometimes I notice it's worse when I've had a good set.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. They're going to tear you down, man. Of course.
Which is, yeah, it's just, and I grew up Christian, so I never want to toot my horn. But I do notice it's there. So I would say in comedy situations like that. And that there's that one time in particular that really stood out, where it was just, I won't repeat it was just gross. I won't repeat it, but I just remember thinking, a lot of people would never go to a show, never done a mic again.
Yeah.
And it makes me sad to think about how many talented people aren't doing this because of that. So if I can create,
for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. I think when people are starting out, and especially in Toronto, because it is so big, there's so many rooms, there's everything imaginable. And if you don't have that guidance, and you don't have people that know where you should be doing your shows and where you shouldn't be doing your shows, and what's welcoming and what's not, and all of that, it can be a nightmare. It can. You
don't fall in with the right people early on.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate. The first open mic I ever went to was at the Comedy Lab. That's run by Danton Lamar, and Danton Lamar's very much been one of the people who's taken me. I've been very lucky. I've had a handful of people take me under their wing, but he was the first one. And his open mics in particular, people say pretty much anything. He lets you get away with a lot, but it's his room still. And that's where I saw the power of the host, that even if someone says something really upsetting, the host, it's amazing how much they control what the overall feeling of the room is when people leave. If that makes sense. Like, what sticks with you about a room, so much of it is in the control. So that's why I started enjoying that, because you just see the power of that space. And he lets me host now. I host there a lot, and I'm a regular at the Comedy Lab. It's giving me a lot of stage time. And I host Ladies Night there, which is an open mic at the end of this last Friday of every month. And queer women or queer folks and women get priority.
Awesome.
And I enforce it relentlessly.
Good.
It's a bucket show, and they used to do it with one bucket and two different pieces of papers, and the comedy men's could not comprehend that was too complicated. Not enough executive functioning, I don't know. They couldn't handle that, and so I played it out, and it was the most bizarre, problematic thing, where if I pulled a name and I was pretty sure that they shouldn't be on that piece of paper, be like, so and so, are you gay? Are you a woman? I was like, this is very problematic, but it has to be. I'm trans. It's okay. It can be problematic. I don't know. So now, there's two buckets now. And they're very clearly labeled.
Yeah, there's still going to be somebody that tries to get in the other bucket. You know
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
and I mean, and I have, this is a bit crude, but I won't even say it, but there's some of the, just, you just riff on them that like, all right, you're in the
Yeah.
gay bucket, prove it. I don't
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that'd be funny.
which is this is why I'm like, when guys are like, is this okay to say? I'm like, I don't know. I say some kind of off color stuff sometimes. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I can get, and I don't know if they realize that like I can get away with saying more about certain subject matter than they can too.
Yes.
Like what people will be upset. The line where people will get upset at them is probably a lot shorter than with some things. Obviously, it's but
Yeah. Play the youth card, man.
youth card,
Right?
the gay card.
The gay card.
I love the gay card. I have been playing it my whole, since I came out. But I'm gay.
That's great.
Right.
That
why
is
not?
awesome.
So you mentioned Danton Lamar, and you guys are planning something. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we're working on a podcast right now.
Awesome.
It's the Father and Son podcast.
That's great.
I had this thing. It took so long to wear him down where he was on board with this bit, but I would whenever I introduced him, I would introduce him as my biological father. And I don't know if you've met Danton Lamar or you know what he looks like. We physically couldn't be more opposite. And so it's so stupid, but I was, and I finally got him on board. So it's the Father Son podcast.
That's fantastic.
Awesome. We don't know when exactly that's coming out, but we've been recording episodes, so we have like a backlog.
Oh, nice.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. And he's producing it through his company Word Entertainment. He's also doing one with Al Val right now.
Oh, we love Al Val.
Hard not.
I know. She's
great.
Adorable.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely it's nice. I mean, like as a trans comedian to see her, and not only how like funny and smart and good performer she is, but how well she's doing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, there's something here for me,
Yep.
So
well, you seem to have the same level of drive, just from what I've been able to see. So it's great. And
thank you.
I always say that it's like being a comedian is great. And people go, oh, well, how did that person make it to the top? And I'm like, it isn't always necessarily on how funny they are, which is sad. It's about their drive and perseverance and just being out there day after day after day after day, doing the shows, doing the mics, doing whatever, meeting whoever, talking to whoever. And that's how you guys become successful, like everybody.
And I think too, wanting to learn and not thinking you have mastered anything. I had someone ask me recently if I'm competitive, and I said just with myself. I'm not. I don't really pit myself against other people. I mean, obviously, when I was a young person, like a younger person, teenager, you can't help it. That's what you do. But now I'm competitive with myself. I want to always be improving, and I always want to be better than what I have been, and I want to be funnier all the time. And so I think if you have that attitude as well, just this idea,
that's great.
Yeah. And that's something that film school helped with a lot, because they help you understand the business of it and how one is successful in entertainment, because it just takes a very specific kind of, I don't know, insanity.
Yeah.
So
I love that you're doing a podcast with Danton. And is it scripted by any chance? Or?
No,
Okay.
It's silly. Sometimes we'll have things we want to talk about, but and we're both stoners, so we may be possibly I don't perform stoned. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. I don't like it. I tried it once and I was like, not for me. not
you get that paranoid. Yeah.
And I just like every word leaves my brain. And I'm just like, I have funny things to say sometimes, but I can't. I don't know. So but my point being that it's off the cuff, the podcast. It's us
nice.
We goof around a lot, so it's us goofing around.
Yeah, and the reason I asked is simply because you've done a lot of writing. Do you see any of your writing becoming a podcast, like a scripted podcast?
Would be cool. I would be very interested in that. It's interesting. It's fun doing the off the cuff thing. Because as a writer, you get used to really sticking to your words that you've written, and there's something very exciting about. And that was something that took the longest for me with comedy, was the ad-libbing, because you don't ad-lib in film. You like a little bit if you're a good actor and you have but there's not as much of that. And then even in like my performing experience was also highly scripted. I wasn't an improv kid. So it's interesting to do something where I'm not bound to this, but I would be interested in it. Yeah. In writing something scripted. That would be fun. You
Mhm.
know? Yeah. I'm just tickled that I get to, write for a living, because when you go to art school, it's a lot of people being like, now, most people don't make it, or, most people don't make it right. Like you hear that a lot
That's awesome.
from your
Yeah,
professors, from
yeah.
just like random people. You tell like, what are you going to school for? You tell them, we're like, well, a lot of people don't. It's like, cool, great. Thanks.
Thanks for telling me after I've spent $60,000 to do this
Oh,
program or
you
more.
know, yeah. So it's just nice to be using it. Is you're,
Mhm.
they really put the fear of God in you.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
Well,
it helps you
theater.
have. Sorry, no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, your
Yeah,
theater school must really help with your being on stage. I know you mentioned it
yeah,
before, but
yeah,
like even memorizing your jokes, like I think that
yeah.
was one
That's
of the
huge.
things that I struggled with
Yeah,
is like memorizing my stupid jokes. And it
Yeah,
was
me
like,
too.
ugh.
something I
So,
struggled with when I started was I wouldn't deviate. Not like now I'll have a little bit of
mm,
fun with it on
Mhm.
stage, the
yeah.
writing, and I'm not afraid to kind of go off a little bit. And I also used to be a perfectionist with what was like show worthy
Mm,
versus open mic worthy. It was too much though. Like it wasn't,
yeah.
and so I'm trying to like have that pipeline be faster, like incorporating things into shows a little sooner, because I was being
Good.
too much of a perfectionist about it. Like, and nothing is ever good enough.
Yeah.
There's this an expression that, what do you do with your art? Stare at it until I hate it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And you don't
Yeah.
want to fall into that. And you can really fall into that writing screenplays. Oh, it's like a keyhole
Mhm.
or a K-hole. Like it like you're just like, you're in this tunnel and you can't stop making little changes
Yeah.
and it's never done. But comedy, you're always changing it. But in this, I don't know. It's just interesting, the pipeline, the workflow of it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's more fun.
It's a lot more
Yeah.
adaptive, right? Because you
Yeah.
have to go by what the crowd is reacting to, what the other comedians are saying. Everything kind of plays
Oh,
into it a little bit
absolutely.
more. And it's good that you're learning that flexibility of, you know,
Yeah.
doing a little bit
Yeah.
more off the cuff and adding things in.
That was always my big thing I wanted to improve on, and being conversational, that took me a
Yeah.
while. It
Yeah,
came
that's
out very
hard.
theater. Yeah, yeah. And now I think, I've kind of gotten to a place where I'm better with that, but that was one of the things that was probably
Yeah.
challenging for me to learn. It came out very theater.
Yeah.
I don't know what that, I got very rural Ontario theater there for a second. I don't know.
Hey, nothing beats rural Ontario theater.
It's the
It's the
best.
best.
It's
It's the
listen, don't
best.
hate
I
on
don't.
community theater until you whatever. My mom very much pushed me towards like theater, and we did a lot of
Yeah.
community. She would write plays and produce them, and I would star in them because nepotism and
Yeah.
it's
Why not? Yeah.
yeah. So, and I mean, my siblings, I have one in healthcare, one in law, so I'm kind of
Mm,
the goofy artsy one, I guess.
yeah. Were you
Someone
the
has to do
youngest?
it.
Yeah. Yeah,
You're-
I have two adopted brothers,
okay.
and one of them is a year younger than me, but
Mm,
we weren't little when they were adopted.
mhm,
We were like tweens.
mm.
I always get fuzzy with exactly when, but somewhere between like 11 and 14. I know it's a
Yeah.
huge range, but
No, but still,
it's
your formative years, you were the baby of the family.
yeah, yeah. When
So,
I was
yeah.
little, I was the special little baby, and I'm the young,
Aw.
and my parents weren't not old parents, although at the time considered old. Like mom was 35 when I was born, which isn't that old,
Mhm.
especially now. But
Yeah.
at the time in the 90s, it was all you're pushing it. So I'm also like that baby. They thought they were just gonna have the one. They had kind of given up.
Oh,
Yeah. And then I happened.
yay.
They're like, what is this?
My
You know how they say like
Oopsie.
get what's coming to you with your kids? Yeah. Yeah.
mother says that to me all the time.
Yeah,
Like,
she lets
she's
you
like,
know.
I don't wish you to have any, like, I wish that your children would be just like you, not any better, not any worse,
Any
but just
worse?
like you. And I'm like, why are you cursing me? Why do you hate
Oh,
me?
my goodness. Yeah, no, that's silly. Yeah, my mom is very much like a mama bear kind of
Aw,
vibe too. Yeah, she's a good lady, good maritimer gal.
yay.
Yeah,
Nice. Nothing beats those Maritimers, right?
they're the best. They're the best. My whole
They
family.
are.
That's where they're moving back to. They're my whole family from the
Wow.
Maritimes, and they always planned on retiring back there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Like right now they're moving. That's where they're
oh
moving.
yeah, Monday
Oh wow.
Wow.
going back home because they lived in New Brunswick, both of my parents, until they were 35, and then they moved to
Yeah.
Ontario. So and my whole family are from the Maritimes. So they're going back.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very
So,
nice. Everyone's going there now. Like,
so you can
well,
afford to.
yeah, right.
You know,
Right.
I mean, not to ramble, it's a comedy podcast, and I'm like, the freaking housing
Yeah.
market in the Maritimes, but it is pretty crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's getting
Yeah.
bad out there too now. Because
Yeah.
Toronto was bad. And then during the pandemic, when our prices went through the roof, everybody started going down east. So
You get to a point
that's
for,
pushing them up.
especially like the bottom half of millennials and then the older Gen Zs who are adults, you know, just because of what we're all making and the cost of
Mhm.
looking at those housing price numbers, it's just like, it's at the point where that's not even, it's,
Yeah.
you don't even think about it. You're like,
Mhm.
this is abstract, honestly, at this point.
Oh,
You know?
yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I digress.
Absolutely.
Luckily, my wife has a real job, so that helps a lot.
Yeah. What does your wife do for a living?
Mortician, funeral home
Yes.
director. Yeah,
That's great.
freaking cool.
Lots of
I
business
love it.
there.
I know. I have my joke. We're both in the business of putting smiles on people's faces.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I have a
Perfect.
little thing about that. Yeah, no, it's super cool.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
No, sorry, I won't say.
No, you can't. Whatever it is. Yeah. Oops, I've moved my. Here we go.
That's okay.
Just makeup. I was thinking in terms of makeup tips.
Yeah, it's so funny because people think that they'll like the jokes that the makeup will make them look dead, but the whole point is to make them look alive.
Alive. Yeah.
Yeah. They
Absolutely.
love it. They love all the details. It's a very detail oriented
Mhm.
profession, and people don't know that the funeral home director, the person who's doing the embalming and stuff, and the mortician is, unless it's a big funeral home, a huge operation, is usually the same person as the funeral home director who's organized. It's usually
Yeah.
the same. So you get to do a lot of different stuff too, which they
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, I just kind of whenever I hear that profession about that profession, my mind goes to hatching, matching, and dispatching. Did you ever
Okay.
see that? There
I
was
don't know.
It's a CBC show.
Sounds like a CBC show.
Yeah, right.
It's based in Newfoundland, and this one family,
Okay.
drives the ambulance, has a funeral home, and I don't know,
The whole
Yes.
industry.
hatching, matching, and dispatching. So funeral home. Oh,
So
they do
we're, like-
weddings. They do weddings,
Okay.
and they have the ambulance service, and it's hilarious.
That's amazing. Yeah. My partner wants to open a queer focused funeral home because we're underserved in death.
Amen. That's
yeah.
a great idea.
Yeah, especially trans
Wow.
people, because it's very
Mhm.
you die, it goes to your neck. If you haven't specifically said who you want, it
Mhm.
goes to your parents or your siblings, and it's very common for trans people to be put in the wrong clothes and called the wrong name and a outdated photo, and it's just
Yeah. Don't put Mickey in anything frilly.
no, there's a great photo of me, and I'm probably 13, and I'm in some kind of theater production. I don't even know what it is, and I'm wearing a dress, and the way I'm standing is so like rigid, and my arms are out, and I just don't look like I know how to. Yeah. I have the posture of a
That's great.
Barbie. Just
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
That's
So
funny.
funny. No, I think that's a fabulous idea
Yeah.
to
it's
do
cool,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
I know
I
a lot
think it's
of
cool.
queer folks like to go out with style too, right?
It's a party.
It is a party.
Hey, the front half is the funeral home, the back half is the comedy bar.
Hey, I
Oh.
like that. The 2-in-1. That's a great
Yeah.
idea. I had this idea too of a comedy club. And I mean, I'm not the first person to have this idea. This concept has been done other places, but where it's less alcohol focused and more cannabis focused. Too. And call it giggles or something.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, just silliness. But yeah, I don't know.
That's good.
How
Well, we'll
hilarious.
be on the lookout for it.
Oh, thank you.
What a way to end a podcast.
I know. Business pitch there. I know.
Yeah, we're looking for investors.
Yeah, exactly. For giggles, get on the ground floor.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So you're promoting Punchlines on Parliament now, and your podcast
and the podcast, which we don't have a date for when that's going to come out, but it's going to come out sometime in the coming few months.
Okay.
The Father and Son podcast, and you find that on Word Entertainment, and then Punchlines on Parliament, the next one. So it's the last Sunday of every month.
And that's held where?
At the Impact Lounge. It's a new venue. It's a queer-owned venue. It's great.
Cool.
I love the owners.
Awesome.
They're all about church off of church, because Church Street's dying. So, like it just is. So he, you know, his whole manifesto, Jason, who owns it, is that queer venue owners have to open venues throughout the city, that we can't, we just, because it's, you know, it's dying, we have to spread.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also against like gatekeeping and stuff too. And so it's trying to make it accessible for people to do things there. Not,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can't have all your eggs in one basket anymore, right?
No, definitely not. Yeah. And the basket keeps getting smaller. So
yeah, because of all the
know.
development, right? So they're just tearing down
Cruising
buildings.
Tagos
and
is going to be a condo, you know.
Oh
So,
no. Well, it's about time
yeah.
because like I love Cruising Tangos, but the smell in that place.
Yeah, there's just certain things you can't get out.
No,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's so fun.
So I think that's May 28th would be the last Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Wow.
Well, maybe Laura and I will do a field trip. We do try to get out to see everybody at some point. So
I would love that. We might take a break during the summer and then restart in like August, September too. So it might be the last one for a couple months, just because I know June, July are not fun producing months, especially, and it's such a large space.
Yeah.
So
you got to find outdoor venues in the summer, right?
Bingo. Yeah. Because people, the outdoors. Yeah. Canadians are just trying to get as much serotonin as they possibly can in such a short period of time.
Absolutely. Right.
But I know it's nice outside, but how about a basement? You know.
Oh yeah.
harder sell.
Yep. That's too funny. No, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Mickey. You were absolutely a pleasure to chat with, and we wish you the utmost success in everything that you do.
Thank you.
We see big things happening for you.
Oh goodness.
Yay.
Thank you. I thank you for having me. It was lovely chatting with you folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.